Sometimes, I walk in no particular direction, saw the grass is greener on the other side, but sometimes it sure might be muddy. That I never thought of before I took the ride. I burned my bridges so I'd never look back, cause sometimes they say forward ever, backwards never. But if I had known that sometimes I might bypass incredible in search of perfection, I would think twice. The grass is greener where I water the ground. That's what I found when I took the ride, and I realized that sometimes not all mountains I climb is nothing but sun. So sometimes I should be wise enough to know sometimes it's not as always as sometimes. Sometimes I don't have to go the 360 degrees, I just have to go the 180. Sometimes I don't have to climb the highest mountain, cause sometimes for all I need is within me. And sometimes I don't necessarily have to go the extra mile in the anger of the sun, cause sometimes I can get to my destiny through the subway. And if sometimes I had known the life I've been searching for looks right at me in the eyes, I would just smile back at it, cause sometimes I don't know, I already have answers to my own questions. I've been to many places with a lonely heart, longing for a place I can be part, and here I am in my own house, but home sometimes seems so far. I've tried to cut the distance, but I feel it's so far, so sometimes I quit, and sometimes home don't feel like it. People say don't change, and I know I have to be the best of me, but sometimes I change to suit them. So sometimes I ask, how would I grow? I'm scared to do the things I want, but people don't know, cause sometimes I keep myself, and maybe sometimes I'm afraid of criticism. Sometimes my mama's arms don't feel like home. Sometimes whenever I look into your eyes, I mesmerize, shiver in words, and sometimes feel fly like the yellow bird in the yellow sunset. But sometimes when I fall into your arms, the deceit of your heart melts me. So sometimes your arms don't feel like home. Sometimes I feel alone. When I think of giving up on you, sometimes memories knock me on the head and put me into its dungeon, and I sometimes laugh over it, but sometimes can't get over it. I keep telling her how my dreams wouldn't let her go, and she kept telling me stories of how her love loves another love, and when she sees these loves, her love whips, so she sometimes don't want to return it. So sometimes I also keep mine under my sleeves, cause my sometimes might not be her sometimes, and sometimes we might meet our true sometimes elsewhere, but I know sometimes we might reminisce these sometimes. Sometimes your arms don't feel it. Sometimes I don't feel at home, but I know sometime I would have a better feel of these sometime. Sometimes when I think about Mother Nature, my maze erects and wonders the mastermind behind its ejaculation. So sometimes I jealous her, and sometimes wish to be in her fabric, but sometimes when I look at myself, I see the true reflection in me. So sometimes, most times, I always want to be in her best form. So even when I hurt your feelings, sometimes I don't have to apologize. Sometimes I keep wondering if today's 21st century is under a curse or a spell, but sometimes I think the spoken words of the Bible is manifesting. Who knows? Sometimes I keep wondering if we are still blind to the fact that we are still copying blindly, or is it that sometimes we want to prove to our neighbors at the West we are out of our mind's paradigm, or sometimes we are hostages of vanity. sometimes, maybe sometimes, yeah, maybe sometimes we might get to appreciate sometimes and understand sometimes it's not as always as sometimes, and your sometimes might not be someone else sometimes, but surely there's sometimes for us all. Sometimes peace, regard. Tsene Kome the Black Boy, the Calabash Vibes.